Okay, okay, there we go, folks. We are live here with Quantum Leap, and my name's David Kirsten. I'm a co-host, and we're actually gonna reschedule the 10:30 segment. If folks saw my story on business networking to October 22nd, because we had to change up late today. But I did want to introduce my esteemed co-host Cory. Not Cory, if you don't mind, just telling us a little bit about you, and if you want to do a check-in too, you're welcome.
Sure. Hey everyone, Cory and I here, co-owner of Take Wing Coaching, and I do executive coaching for business partnerships. So I help partnerships thrive and communicate well so that they can take advantage of the true benefits of partnership. And nothing really to check in other than that we're starting to put together a uh, workshop for partnerships that I will be talking about later.
Okay, very good. Well, um, our guest today is Cameron Chiechi. Forgive the pronunciation if I didn't hit that quite 100% there, Cameron. But we're glad to have you back, and I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, and um, we're happy to have you back for your second appearance.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much for having me. And that was perfect pronunciation of my last name. So, hey
Okay,
folks, I'm Cameron Chiechi, and I'm a residential and commercial property manager, and additionally, I'm also a realtor. So, I have a pretty good insight into all things rental and investment based here in the East Bay and the South Bay. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, you too.
yeah, yeah, great to have you back. And folks, if you haven't came and visited our business networking chapter, Cameron is has been in our chapter now for a bit less than a year, but we're glad to have him. And um, we feel like you really exemplify a lot of the qualities that we like to highlight on this show. And but before we get to a little bit more about that, I wanted to just do a quick check in on the market right now. I know the real estate market's fairly topsy turvy, and you're both a realtor and a property manager. But if you don't mind just giving us a quick update on the market and how that impacts the East Bay right now with the be it the rates or the economy.
Yeah, we're at a really interesting point in the residential market right now, at least from a buying and selling perspective. We had crazy high interest rates for a couple years now, and we just got word from the Federal Reserve that they're going to start planning rate cuts over the next few months here. So many of us in the industry are expecting 2025 to be a lot harder market than it has been in 24 and 23.
Okay, and what are some things that you look for in terms of your ideal client? Who,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I like to work with people who are investment minded. So my little niche is working with people on multifamily properties, and that's whether they want to lease those up or whether they want to buy and sell multifamily properties. I think they're amazing for a lot of different reasons. You can really get financing that's really favorable, akin to a single family home, but you can get the investment qualities of a bigger apartment building. So I really love working with multifamily properties and anybody who's interested in those.
Okay, great. And I'm gonna hand it over to Corey. I know we're doing good on time,
Way
Corey,
ahead
and
of time.
if feel free to ask a wild card question. I left out the your why, but I'll hand it over to you.
All right, Cameron. Well, one of the things I want to ask is, I mean, you told us a little bit about how you got started in this. Um, well, I guess a good question is what do you think landlords should use a property manager, right? There's always like, the complaints that you hear is like, oh, it's going to cost me a lot of money, right? It's like I've got to pay this person to do all this, and I don't know what the
Mhm.
result's going to be, and it's true of anything. In coaching, it's the same kind of world that I'm in, and um, it's and there's a definitely a tangible benefit to having a property manager. But what would you describe that as, and succinctly?
Yeah. I mean, I really like to guide people. I end up working with a lot of first timers, and it's really like drinking from a fire hose when you're dealing with investment properties for the first time. Like
Right.
In California, we have the strongest tenants' rights in the entire nation. And especially the Bay Area, a lot of the cities have doubled down on making things very renter favorable.
Right.
So you really want to partner up with somebody who knows what they're doing, just so you don't get yourself in hot water. So that's the first thing that I think a property manager will bring to the table. They'll really help you set things up so you won't get yourself in trouble. Um, the second thing is I think kind of like you, Corey. I'm experimenting with this new concept of consulting. I mean, it's basically coaching. I really don't think that managing property is rocket science at all. It's really quite easy. And it's oftentimes really low touch point for landlords. I kind of feel like people tend to build this up into their heads to be a bigger thing than it is, because you do hear those horror stories of a few bad
Sure.
apples, right? Where you get crazy tenants and long drawn out evictions. But I would say 99% of the people that I run across in this business are reasonable and rational people. Um, so I'm actually helping people set up the infrastructure to run their rental like a small business, and
Mm,
basically giving them the keys so they can go off and self-manage. And I think they can save big time themselves over time, rather than hiring a property manager who's going to be taking a cut of their
right.
income every single month.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all kind of depends on the distance and so on. I mean, it's like if you're far away, it's good to have somebody managing it.
Right.
But I like the idea of consulting. I mean, I do that too with the partnerships. Is if people don't know what they don't know, and it can be a lot, right? And creating that certainty really helps. And it's really, the difference between coaching and consulting, just to be clear, is consulting is telling people what to do, and coaching is, drawing on their resources. And consulting has huge value because we can figure out what it is they have unique needs. Like if you're a landlord in Oakland, your needs are going to be different than somebody in Concord, and probably thinking about not just the laws, but also the kind of tenants and what the rates are and all that. And so giving them a customized consultation is really valuable. I like it.
Mhm.
And then they can decide if they need more from there, right? That makes this big step. So hopefully we'll
Yeah.
talk about more of that in BNI. So what makes you otherwise, well, other than that, what makes you unique as a property manager?
I'm a landlord myself, and that's kind of how I found myself in this business.
Right.
I ended up getting a couple rentals of my own, and basically everything that I bring to my business is trial and error through things I've personally experienced. So I've been there from the landlord perspective, so I can really empathize with their needs and goals. And that's not always the case with property managers. I mean, oftentimes they work for big companies. They're really not making a lot of money, and they just don't really care. So basically, I want to flip the whole idea of what property management is on its head, and I want to be accountable, helpful, provide value, and basically treat landlords and tenants like real people. Because at the end of the day, this is a 100% relationships business. And I cannot think of another business model where people expect to treat their customers poorly and have them coming back as repeat customers month after month.
Yeah, mechanics maybe. I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not mechanics. I should say we're like dealerships. But anyway, that's just and no, we don't get treated poorly. I shouldn't say that, but it's just like in history there have been some of those models, and you're right. It's getting harder and harder. Like even restaurants can't treat people poorly anymore if they can't afford to stay in business that way. Well, I noticed there's a couple of questions on here, but it feels like a little bit repetitive, like as into who is your ideal client, and how has networking worked out for you in BNI?
Networking is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I would actually say the vast majority of my business has come from networking.
Mhm.
And I just find that the quality of business that you find through networking is so much better than
Yeah.
just any cold inbound lead you meet off the street. Um, just having somebody else who who knows, likes, and trusts you, vouching for you, is that makes the sale 10 times easier than
Right.
I meet somebody who I have no prior relationship with and trying to develop that rapport. It's just a lot more time, and the ROI is so much more less when I'm working with people who've already been pre-vetted by another person. So I'm a huge proponent of referral marketing and networking for people who are solopreneurs. I think it just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah, no, I think it does. And, you have to put in the work, but it does definitely pays off. And okay, so kind of jumping around here on the questions, but what area do you work in? What is your like preferred area?
Yeah, I actually am born and raised in San Jose, so I have a lot of connections and contact down there still.
Mm,
I currently live in Berkeley, so I really cover everything from about El Cerrito all the way down to San Jose, down 880. That whole corridor is where I feel most comfortable and where I'm most familiar with. So that's where I'm most comfortable. But I mean, obviously, a lot of these principles are applicable anywhere, and
sure.
there's a little bit of variation between city to city, but it's not terribly hard to figure out who needs what. So I'm really happy to go almost anywhere in the Bay Area these days.
Yeah, especially with consulting, you can kind of do that anywhere, but
Right,
the actual management, we always have to think about the traffic. Um,
right.
880 is bad enough. So I think that's really all the questions I have for you.
Yeah, great. And I always say if you're succinct and you cover it well, you end about 10 minutes early. So we'll end early, and we want to thank you for coming on. I'll put the links to you about how folks can get in touch with you. He is located in the Berkeley area, and yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you so much.
All right.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Quantum Leap.